So, um, because this is an online course and I'm not really sure if everybody is available at this time, but
Yeah.
I have one of my students call in here and I asked everybody else if they can join. So we may have other participants. So tell me what you're doing right now. Where are you?
Right now I'm in my studio in my apartment. Um, I'm located in West Hollywood, California right now.
Nice.
I pretty much just woke up a little bit ago, so I'm not doing too much,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, right. It should be about 9 o'clock over there, 9 a.m.
yep, 9 o'clock exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I know I was following you and you were my student and you were doing these different designs and it looks like it really took off and you started selling a lot and you have a great Instagram page that I'm following. So, do you want to talk a little bit about how you started it and how it got to that point or what you're doing now, just in
Yeah,
general?
yeah, absolutely. So I'd say like right after I graduated, things started to pick up pretty fast, which was 2020. I graduated in the spring, and then oops, and then January 2021, I quit. I was working at the Southern Park Mall retail. I was a manager at the Zoomies. And one of my friends who he lives with me, he cuts hair and stuff. He moved to LA like a year prior. So he was just like, hey, dude, you should just come out here, give it a shot. So I did. I just quit my job, packed up my car, and came out here and started to just go like full time on like making clothes, kind of focusing on like design and my craft. And things started to pick up slowly but surely. And then, um, but while I was working at Zoomies, I was still like making a lot of clothes. That was like a good entry point into like starting my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I would just buy jeans at a discount from work and paint on them or take them apart. And I got a sewing machine. I would start sewing on them. And
Mm-hmm.
then people would just come in and be like, whoa, where did you get those? Like, I don't see those. And I'd be like, oh, I made them. So it would just stuff like that. It would just kind of like domino effect. And then I was like, oh, I'm kind of making enough money to where I could like not work at my job. So I
Awesome. Well,
moved
this
out
is how
here.
Coco Chanel started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And so at Zoomies, you were making clothes for them?
No, I was just making clothes for myself, but like my managers and all that, they definitely seen what I had going on. So they would ask me if like, oh, if you ever like wanted to put clothes in the store, like we could like give you the connections and stuff. But I never really wanted to do something like that just
Mm-hmm.
because like mall like stores at the mall like Zoomies or like H&M and stuff, that's just not like the industry side of things that I kind of wanted to branch into. I was more into like the deeper fashion or very like customizable stuff and all that
Mm-hmm.
fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But you were already doing those things when you were
Mhm.
working there, when you were still in Ohio. Um,
Yeah.
were you selling? I remember you were selling some of your pants through Instagram at the time.
Yep. I would just pretty much um at the time while I was in school, probably around the time I was in your class, it was very like local. I was usually only selling things to like local artists, rappers, people that were into streetwear. I was very
Mm-hmm.
focused on like streetwear. So I would say, yeah, I was still selling. And then when I moved or when I towards the end of my retail career, I was making like a couple sales a week. So
Oh, okay.
it was like a good bonus.
And you were making everything on your own.
Yeah, everything was handmade all by me. And I most of my stuff is all handmade by me.
And you said you just buy pants on a discount and then you do all the embellishments that you do on them?
Yep. Back then, I was just getting my jeans at anywhere I could get them, really. I was getting them from like J.C. Penney's because my friend worked there and he was giving me like a huge discount. So I was getting jeans for like $10. And
Mm.
then now I have connections with like manufacturers, so I get my own blanks made and I kind of have the ability to just play around with whatever silhouettes I want and stuff like that.
Mhm. And what do you think made your Instagram page grow? Because this is a social media class that we are doing, social media for fashion marketing. And I kind of want to know about your social media experience and how it grew, and if there was a point where it just started to exponentially
So the
popular.
social media side of it is probably the most important side of it because my what I was doing is I was trying to be very, very consistent. The content is the most important thing that you can do. You have to put yourself out there, especially in this industry now with the pandemic and TikTok. This industry is probably one of the most saturated industries now. So you have to post content and be consistent and just try to keep your social medias like relevant. You want people to see you every day, whether you're just posting on your stories. Now they have like little group chats you can start. You want to say hi to everybody at least once a day. But yeah, I would say at the beginning, I was just trying to post. I forget what my schedule was. I think it was every 2 or 3 days I would post a new creation or a new video or something like that.
Okay, and is it more now, or are you
It's
still?
definitely more now. I try to now that I've like grown and I have a little bit more of like notability, I I still post very frequently. I post on my stories every day, but I don't post on my main feeds as much.
Mhm,
My roommate, he's the same way. He posts every day. He keeps it very strict. He posts every single day.
mhm,
But depending on how exclusive you are and how things kind of work out with your styles of clothes, you can kind of get away with making people wait for it
mhm.
and kind of build this like hype up.
Yeah.
But now it kind of gets a little tricky. You need to you kind of need to like manipulate your styles in ways that like click in people's heads. But yeah,
Mhm.
you need to be like very, 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 very consistent on social media.
Okay. And you come up with all your designs. You don't have anybody else. You're like a one-man show.
Yep, right now I'm a one-man show. I handle everything. I'm starting to scale up and branch into like mass production.
Mhm,
So I've taught myself how to make the technical files for everything. Um, Pattern making is kind of a big, it's pretty important if you want to start working with manufacturers, especially if you want to work with people overseas to like cut costs. It's
mhm.
very important that you have your measurements down because they'll try to, change it a little bit so you spend more money on samples and things like that.
Right.
So the more you know, the less they can take advantage of you.
Absolutely. Um, so you have some manufacturers that you're working with right now? Where are they located?
So I have a manufacturer in China. I just got a new manufacturer in Pakistan, and then I also have a couple manufacturers in downtown LA that make like my blanks and stuff like that.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I'm guessing their cost is much lower than finding discount jeans.
Yeah. So yeah.
Um, what is your volume right now? I mean, can you compete with all the orders? Like, do you have low enough orders that you can do it on your own?
So yeah, most if for my handmade stuff, I try to only accept a certain amount of orders per month.
Mm-hmm.
That way I'm not overwhelmed, but for the last 2 years now, I've been completely overwhelmed. So I'm getting to the point now where I'm trying to scale up and have more of my stuff made for me.
Mm-hmm.
That way I can kind of just focus on the business end of things
Right.
and spend less time in here
Mm-hmm.
showing stuff. Like all of the stuff behind me are like orders, unfinished stuff, random fabrics and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've been following you, so I see that you started doing some sweatshirt styles as well. So you're expanding, and you're on top of all of that, you're also running your own social media,
Yeah.
right? You don't have
Yeah.
anybody else, right?
Yeah. For a short period of time, I tried to like have assistants and stuff, but then at the stage I'm at, it kind of just became more of like a another task I had to like fulfill. So right now I just focus on everything, and every here and there you win pretty big, and you can kind of take a step back and refocus and then go back into it even harder. So it's a
Mhm.
pretty cool experience.
Right. And I bet you're overwhelmed with the sewing part of it as well. It takes a lot
Yeah.
of time. You have
Yeah,
to
it
do
takes that
everything.
that's what takes up most of my time is making all the orders.
Right. How do you feel it changed your business moving from Ohio to LA?
It definitely skyrocketed, but only in terms of once I moved to LA, it pretty much forces you to just work insanely hard. This city is very high pace compared to Ohio.
Right.
So I just every day I'd wake up, get something done, and just the idea of working every day, staying busy and working towards something, you
Mhm.
kind of you kind of just start to believe in it and everything like that. So the work definitely 10x when I moved here, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily because of Los Angeles. I would just more say it's because of how fast everybody moves out here. Plus,
Yeah.
it's a very competitive job market here too.
And I mean, your business probably grew a lot more during that
Yeah,
time too.
yeah,
So it's maybe a quality problem to have a lot of work to do.
yeah.
Right?
Very true.
So are you able to afford living in LA with the business you have because you don't work anywhere else, right?
Yeah, ever since I consider myself kind of lucky because once I quit my job in Ohio and moved out here, I was luckily able to make things happen. And ever since then, I've been able to pay my living expenses and pay myself all through this clothing stuff. So that's very fortunate. Sometimes it is a little overwhelming and I'll feel like I'm burning myself out and I'll be like, oh, maybe I should just find like a random job just so I can like feel normal again. But it's
Right.
definitely a blessing to be able to sit at home all day.
That's true. And I mean, if you have some help and if you start working with others, maybe you can expand your business because there's a lot of interest. Whoever I show your styles, they really like them. I mean, they're so
Yeah.
unique, they're different. You have a niche. So,
Yeah.
um, this is kind of the way to success. So you might be able to figure out a way to be more productive by finding others to help and you do more of your design and maybe the business side of
Yeah.
it like you mentioned.
Yeah,
uh,
that's a good point. It's that's another thing with the social media is it's once you find your goal at first should be finding a specific niche and then filling a gap in that niche, and then your social media will start to grow with that with the people that are in that niche.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
One question I have, I'm trying to ask you all the questions that my students might have because I'm going to share this video with them eventually. Um,
Cool.
so when you started working with manufacturers, how did you get in touch with companies in China or Pakistan?
So there's once you start to make viral content, you will have a lot of DMs from manufacturers, but a lot of them are scammers, or a lot of them are just trying to start their own companies too. So you don't really know if you can trust them. So there's a lot of different ways you can find manufacturers. You can either what I was doing is I was now making friends in this industry who are also running successful brands, and I would be like, hey, like, can I have a manufacturer for hoodies? And sometimes they'd be like, yeah, but I have to sell it to you. Or they would say, I had to sign an NDA, so you're going to have to pay the NDA fee or whatever. I don't know if that's like something people make up or whatnot, but word
Mhm.
of mouth and asking people. There's also a lot of companies too that do like a lot of consulting. They'll have like a huge list of
Mhm.
manufacturers, uh, graphic designers, pattern makers. You could buy the whole list for like a lump sum, like $300, and then you can go through there and pick them out through trial and error.
Yeah, we talk about some of that in our global economy class, which is more like a global sourcing type course.
Yeah, yeah,
So there are agents who will find you manufacturers as well.
yeah,
So I mean, it is good that you communicated and contacted with those, because that will definitely reduce your material costs at least,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. It's a lot in terms of making designs that can be replicated easily. It is a lot cheaper to have someone make it for you versus making them all yourself. Because when you make things yourself and you're making handmade stuff, you have to find a balance between a very intricate design and something that's not going to take you too long. That way, you're not
Mhm.
making people wait too
Right.
long to get their
You have to
stuff.
consider your cost in terms of labor as well.
Yeah, 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 you really have to think of everything. If you have a design that takes you 3 days to make, but you're only selling it for $100, then you're going to be very overwhelmed with orders. But if you have something that's easier to make and you can have someone else do it, then your profit margins are a lot better.
Mhm. Who is your audience? Who is your customer base?
I would say it's a lot of people who are involved in the um music industry, um the streetwear fashion industry, or nowadays the people call it the opium side of like like the opium streetwear type thing. I fell into that niche quite a while ago, so
Right. No, that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Well, I have one of my students here. I don't know if he has any questions for you.
What's up, dude?
Hello. Yeah, Dr. Terrell, if you don't care, I'm gonna ask him some questions if that's
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Go for it.
I think you know my buddy Steve Jimenez. He runs
Oh
Culturati.
yeah, 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 that's, yeah, a
Yeah,
very close friend of mine.
I figured that. So I wanted to tell you that so we could connect a little bit. And I also knew Dean before he left because he cut at the same barbershop that I used to go to.
Oh sweet, hell yeah.
Yeah. So I followed you for a really long time, and I've always liked what you've like what you're doing. And even when I first planned on coming to YSU, Dr. Terrell showed me everything you do and how creative you are. Um, I sew a little bit on the side now, and I know like making simple pieces and like something that is not nearly as complex as yours. Sometimes like I get a little frustrated, a little discouraged. Do you have any tips on getting better at sewing, or what you did to build yourself up to be able to complete these complex projects that you do?
So I would say that when I first started to sew, I was making pretty easy stuff. I was just trying to learn how to use a sewing machine. But it's pretty you can it's
Well, I'm going
almost
to
like,
interject here. You didn't do anything simple when you were taking my class. I mean, that was some complicated project that you did, and I still remember it. So,
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, once I was in that class, I kind of had like the sewing techniques down. As far as like being on like a home machine, I didn't really have any industrial machines and stuff like that, but I was just practicing a lot. taking apart clothes, putting them back together, putting different patches on clothes, like anything that kind of struck my eye online too, or things I was inspired by, I would kind of try to like recreate, but put my 2 cents on it. Like I'm sure you guys both know of Virgil Abloh. He passed away recently, but he had the 3% rule. You know, you
Yeah.
take something that already exists and you add your 3%. Like that is really all you need to do. And then once you learn techniques and you find what works for you, then you kind of just start to flow ideas out like it's your job. And plus, when you're in such a high pace environment, you're forced to just kind of like put things into hyperdrive and kick things out. You might have one idea there and then you mix it with one idea from something you're inspired by. So there's a lot of different ways you can boost your like inspiration or techniques when it comes to sewing.
Okay. Yeah, I love that answer. And also I was going to talk to you about kind of like moving to the LA part. I know Steven has talked to me, and that's something like he has even thought about himself moving there, and kind of just basically what you did, fully investing himself and betting
Yeah.
on himself. So will you speak a little bit more on that? Like, what was your mindset when you did move there, and kind of like um yeah, basically, what was your mindset? Like, did you have a backup plan for if making your own garments didn't work or anything like that, or was it just all in on this?
It was pretty much all in. My only backup plan was if I wasn't making enough money to pay my bills, I would probably just find like a job and still kind of just try to focus most on the craft. But I would say I just, things took off pretty quickly and it worked out. But in terms of like the my mindset when it was time for me to move, I was just in between like how my living situations. I was pretty sick of working through the pandemic. It was just a lot of things that were building up that I was just kind of not enjoying myself in the retail space. I wasn't enjoying the climate in Ohio at the time. And I was also heavily influenced by Dean, because he was already out here and he was just calling me every day, like, yo, you need to come out here, you need to come out here. So I would say that was where my head was at mainly. It was I didn't really have any backup plans. I was just kind of, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna try it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, And I completely agree with another thing you said about like this industry being very saturated, because I cannot agree more. And I love that in an industry that's very saturated, you stay very unique and kind of do your own thing. So is there any tips or tricks you'd have on that to stay unique? Because just like you said, it's very saturated. I think a lot of people do the same thing. And a lot of people's brands look the same and everything like that. Like it's mostly just puff print, terry cotton hoodies or anything
Yeah.
like that. You stay very original, very unique. Is there any tips you'd have on staying like that?
Yeah, so it's good that you can notice those things because you want to kind of notice those things and take it into account when you're making your stuff, especially with the emergence of TikTok and like videos. A lot of video creation has surplused in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. So yeah, you in terms of being unique, I I would just see all the stuff and notice that, oh, these are kids trying to get rich quick. They're just trying to use the system. They're just copying other people and kind of trying to manipulate people on the internet to make it seem like their stuff's better than the next, when in reality we're all getting things from the same people. We all know the same connections. So that was a big issue. I'm starting to feel like nowadays though that it is kind of those things kind of get weeded out. And now that all of those brands have grown and some of them have became a little successful, that you don't really lost my train of thought. Um,
We were talking about the competition.
oh yeah, so it was just very competitive for a while, but now it's almost nice because everybody was doing those kind of brands and stuff. You know, nobody has the money to fund full collections and drops, so a lot of us were doing the pre-order method. So now all of that's so weeded out, and everybody is kind of getting to the point where they're used to waiting for close. So now the industry is a little bit more, relaxed. People aren't emailing you
More
every day
slow
like, oh,
fashion,
where's
right?
my stuff? Where's my orders? Everybody kind of understands that there's a lot of people here making clothes, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of patience to be like held if you're a consumer. So that's kind of a plus side to everything being a little bit saturated for a while. So it's kind of starting to even out, pretty much like anything in the economy would do eventually.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I believe that a brand like yours that stays very original and very unique is timeless compared to these other brands that I don't think they'll last very long, creating the same exact things or doing the same exact thing that everybody else is doing. And that's
Yeah.
also another point that I kind of wanted to make. Like, does that ever infiltrate on your mental or anything? The fact that some people could bite off other brands and make the same exact thing and still make good money off it. But a person like you who's original and everything is well thought out and made by yourself, sometimes a person like you, just because you're self-made, you might not be able to pump out as many orders or make as much money. But I love the fact that you're self-made and everything's from you.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely one of the big struggles I've had. A lot of my designs are stolen from like AliExpress and Alibaba
Seen
and
it.
those like quick manufacturers. They'll
Mhm.
steal your stuff and mass produce it. So that's just I've learned that that's just the way things are now, and it's more beneficial to me now to be more original and focus on the art of it really. Like once your design gets stolen and you're now not making any money off of it because you're selling it for $200 and China's selling it to people for $20.
Right.
It's very frustrating. It was definitely a mental game for me for a while, but at the end of the day, if you're a creative person and you trust the fact that you want to have a longevity or a longer career in this industry, that you need to be able to make the next best thing every day, really.
I like
Right.
that.
And
Uh,
unfortunately, in the US, we don't have copyrights with fashion design.
Yeah, well, so I do have now I have some copyrights, but it really when it comes to like Chinese companies, they don't care. They're gonna take it anyway
Mhm.
because they know that small brands aren't gonna open lawsuits against them. It's pretty impossible to even open lawsuits against Chinese corporations anyway, so
Correct.
it's pretty much useless. And if you're at that beginning stage, I don't even recommend it. Like, don't even worry about lawyer fees, the legality around it. You just want to use that to your advantage. I would make content about the fact that my content was getting stolen. And even that is just another way to grow. So,
Exactly. I mean,
yeah,
you're a copy designer. That
yeah,
also shows where you are in terms of your
yeah,
success. Plus, when those designs are copied, they're never the same quality as the
no,
originals.
yeah, never. It's usually a very, very blatant and bad like copy too.
Exactly.
I agree. And I know you touched on kind of always trying to be looking for that next big thing. So, with like written online and your brand and everything like that, where do you think the next step is? And like, where do you think you could take yourself further with written online?
So my goals right now as of this year is I've been doing more of like um I've added like a main line collection, which is the pieces that I make when I work with manufacturers.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to incorporate the creative side behind that to try and grow and promote that, because it's a lot more profitable and less straining on your brain to have a good drop sell out that you don't even have to make yourself. Your manufacturer does it all for you, and then you just have to worry about fulfillment. That is my goals as of now, so I can expand and focus on more of a longevity thing, because you could do that. You can create one pieces and custom things forever, but you have to really find a certain niche to make like a certain amount of money off that. Not saying it's like all about the money, but eventually when you work so hard, you're going to want to make more money.
I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
I have another question. How do you get orders for your products?
So when I first moved here, I didn't even have a website. So I would actually recommend to anybody who is starting out or just starting a brand or stuff like that, don't even have a website. Don't even worry about that at first. Don't even worry about, filing your business papers, you're getting an LLC or S Corp. Just focus on what you want to do, what you want to create. And, you know, eventually people will come. I used to say like people don't know what they want to buy until you show them. It's just Instagram DMs was my main way to make sales. And for some reason people were just trusting me. They would literally just, Zelle me or send me money or send a deposit, and it worked out. There's like a lot of eventually I made a website and stuff and people could just go on there, but I still focus a lot on DMs and personal conversations with clients and stuff like that.
Right. So, do you do sales on your website?
Yeah.
You have pre-made products that are displayed there?
I don't.
Give us the website
sometimes,
and put it in an insert shot.
So my website has 3 sections: mainline, handmade, and one of one. Usually the one of one stuff is pre-made. Sometimes handmade stuff is pre-made, but I'm to the point now where I can't really keep up with it. So I have to do like a made to order, please allow 3 to 6 weeks for this to be made, blah, blah, blah. And same with like working with manufacturers. At the beginning, unless you have a lot of bankroll to fund it, you're going to need to do like the pre-order stuff. But like I said, now that people are so used to that, and every brand, even Balenciaga, they do pre-orders. So it's just like, it's pretty normal now for the industry to do pre-orders or made to order. Or there's a lot of ways you can trick people too. Like, I don't want to say trick, but it's just a marketing technique. You can write on your website, oh, these first 50 pairs are pre-made. Even if they're not, you could say the first 50 pairs are pre-made. That'll kind of bring more hype to it. And then after that, you say they're on back order, stuff like that.
Well, you're probably on back order most of the time.
Yeah, pretty much
So
all the time. Yeah.
that's the truth. Right. Colin, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, just a real quick one if you don't care. So I obviously like pay attention to the content that you post, and I'm always in your likes and in your comments and everything like that. You posted a video a few days ago where you flipped a pair of like thrifted Harvard pants. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, one, how long did that take you? And two, what is kind of like the whole process with that? Like, how do you get it so perfectly distressed, and then after it's so perfectly distressed, it looks so perfectly placed back onto the pants? I don't know. It's very complex. I wanna learn how to do stuff like it. That's the only reason I ask.
So the thrift flips are actually so fun. Like I look forward to doing stuff like that. I actually just decided a couple weeks ago that I'm gonna start dedicating 2 days a week to making a thrift flip or like a one-to-one piece, just because it makes me feel relaxed when I'm very busy or overwhelmed. But in terms of creating that, that specific piece actually didn't really take me that long. It probably took me like 6, 7 hours to complete. Usually my pieces will take anywhere between like 10 to 30 hours to finish. But that one, I did it quickly just because I was leaving town and I wanted like a nice pair of sweatpants to wear to the airport. But distressing, there's a lot of different techniques to distressing. I try to keep everything as simple as possible. I try to use my hands as much as I can. I don't use Dremels because I just don't want to breathe all that in. I have a dog. I have roommates. I don't want anybody to breathe in all that stuff. That's very like that's not good for you. But you pretty much just take your time, shred everything up, rip things to pieces, and then you kind of just puzzle it all together and sew it all in, and it starts to become like a big fluid piece.
So if you aren't using a Dremel, are you using like outside your hands? Obviously, I know you said you use that, but are you using like a seam ripper, anything else to
Yeah,
like?
seam rippers are my best friend. I mainly use a seam ripper. So what I do is I take like a sheet of fabric and I just drill holes into it forever, and then you pull it apart.
With your seam
Same
ripper?
with you could distress jeans the same way. You just cut a slit and then you cut smaller slits, and then you take out the threads like one by one with a pair of tweezers. That's when a Dremel is more efficient. But yeah, there's tons of way you can distress stuff. Even you could do it with sandpaper too.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think I have all my questions covered. I'm hoping I make it out to LA soon with Steven. Maybe we can meet in person
Oh
sometime.
yeah, bro, that'd be amazing. I'd love that.
You
Thank you
know,
for all the questions too, man.
I
Yeah,
should
thank you for coming to talk. I was very
have,
happy to talk
Yeah,
to
of
you.
course.
I have
Thanks for
one last question for you, which I should have asked at the beginning probably. But when you started doing this, were you doing it with the intention of selling them in the future, or were you just making them for yourself?
At the beginning, it was all purely for myself. I've been in high school, I was in art school. I've been painting and drawing for as long as I can remember. So it was always just a hobby for me. That's why in school I was studying economics, because I didn't want to study art because I felt like I wasn't going to love it anymore. But I slowly started to learn that I hated economics and I definitely wanted to be in the creative side of things. So I switched my minor to fashion merchandising.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, it was mostly you want to focus on your craft, the art. And then, once people start to offer, I was getting DMs that say, hey, can you make me something? Can you make me something? And then I was like, oh, okay, so I could probably make money off of this
Right. I
and
think
stuff like
the best
that.
way to start a business is you do things that you like and you enjoy yourself, and then somehow it picks up. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Oh
Well,
yeah, that's what I tell people all the time to, especially if you're making something that is evolved around art or fashion, you just want to do what you want to do, and people will eventually support it.
absolutely. Well, we are running out of time, but thank you so much for
Yeah, of
your
course.
time. And my Zoom is gonna cut off because we switched to WebEx recently and I don't have the subscription anymore to Zoom. But you know, I think it was great to have you, and hopefully maybe we can have you again to talk to the rest of my class.
Yeah, that'd be great. Whenever, just let me know whenever, and I'll make time. So I really appreciate you having me. It was nice
I,
talking to you.
yeah, me
Thank you.
too. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, of course, Colin. Have a good day,
Good
bro.
luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Mhm.
Bye, William.
Bye.